Chapter 144, The Miserable Outcome of Mu Yue Part 3. Chapter 144, The Miserable Outcome of Mu Yue Part 3. Retribution? Ru Yue coldly chuckled. She continued with a mocking smile, "Have you heard of this saying? Wrecking others' marriage is a great sin. Who do you think the retribution will land on first?" Mu Yue glared fiercely at Ru Yue as she quibbled, "I only want to serve His Highness and become his second wife. I never thought of ruining your marriage." Seeing Mu Yue's appearance that was similar to a stupid pig that wasn't afraid of being boiled, Ru Yue felt a little helpless. This girl had been spoiled rotten by Mu Ting since young, so whatever her actions, she couldn't be bothered about the consequences. Yi Wuchen had obviously indicated that he didn't want any second wife, but she actually still brought that topic up. Shui Er. Mu Qing's expression changed drastically as he hastily explained, "Your Highness, please forgive Shui Er on behalf of her ignorance due to her being young." Ignorance due to being young? Yi Wuchen glanced sinisterly at him. There was a layer of haze covering his handsome face. Mu Yue is only 2 years younger than Mu Er and is still ignorant due to her age? Since she wants to become a concubine so badly, Ben Wang will make the decision for her. She is to wed the kingdom's protector general's deputy, Wang Bo, as his concubine. No! Mu Yue shrieked. She, the bona fide young mistress of the Mu family, was to become a concubine to a deputy general? Moreover, according to the rumors, Wang Bo had been disfigured since young. Not only did he look ugly, but he was also a muscle brain that wouldn't understand how to treat girls with care. Wouldn't this be forcing her to die if she were to become his concubine? He. Your Highness, don't worry. Wang Bo is my father's subordinate. I will complete this task to perfection. A trace of pity was expressed from Li Lu's eyes as he looked at Mu Yue. Wang Bo had 2 concubines. There were rumors that stated they had been tortured by him to death while doing bed matters. Who knew if this young mistress of the Mu family could survive half a year? Daddy, save me. Quickly save me. I don't want to wed a freak. I don't want to. Your Highness, this. Mu Qing wanted to beg for mercy, but before he could speak, a pressure came crashing down on him, silencing him. He could only watch on as Mu Yue was dragged away by Li Lu. Furthermore, Mu Yue's outcome was definitely much worse than those concubines that had been tortured to death. Before entering the manor, her cultivation had been scrapped by a black-clothed man, thus she became a trash. During their wedding night, Wang Bo discovered that she was no longer a virgin, so he left the scene in fury. Henceforth, whenever he was displeased with something, he would viciously torture her. Mu Yue now had an appearance that was neither that of a human's nor a ghost within just half a month. Mu family members weren't allowed to visit Mu Yue under the order of the Ghost King, so it was useless for Mu Yue to call upon the heavens and earth for help. She could only withstand Wang Bo's inhuman torture. In comparison to Mu Yue's misery, Ru Yue entered closed-door training after they left. Finally, she broke through to become a 6th-stage martial practitioner after a month. Even though there still wasn't any breakthrough in her alchemy, she did become much more familiar with it. As of today, she could manufacture 100 Earth-stage mid-rank pills in one go. This could be counted as a remarkable improvement. During Ru Yue's training period, the imperial power had already been completely dealt with. The Emperor of Ziyu was abolished under the order of Elder Zhao, and the throne landed upon the sickly 9th prince, Yi Luoya. But this didn't have any relation with Ru Yue. Currently, she was focused on improving her power as rapidly as possible so that she would be able to walk alongside that man. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 145, The People from the Shao Family of the Shang Domain Part 1. Chapter 145, The People from the Shao Family of the Shang Domain Part 1. Shao family of Shang Domain. Shao Tianyu looked sheepishly at the woman beside him. he said in a gentle tone, Yue. I'm sorry that this kind of thing has happened lately and that I've required you to stay here with me, making it impossible for you to look for our daughter. Hubby, you don't need to explain so much. Madame Yu shook her head slightly. An elegant smile was expressed on her exceptional face. We are a couple and should act as one entity. Who would have thought that after we investigated our daughter's location that spies would appear in the Mu family to tell that Nangong family? Luckily, I was a step quicker and captured that guy that sent our daughter away, so the location of our daughter hadn't been found out by those people. You had even went alone to challenge the Nangong family with a sword around 10 years ago. As of now, we don't need to fear them, but we must completely clear out those spies before bringing our daughter home. I don't want anything to happen to her. Xiao Tianyu sighed as he pulled Madame Yu into his embrace. My wife, we have nearly cleared all of those spies already. It's about time for our daughter to make her return to our family. Father has long wanted to see our daughter. Is she really as remarkable as you said? Perhaps it was due to Madame Yu thinking about the news that she heard from that person's mouth, but she became more excited. So she was their daughter. It was no wonder now why she'd felt like getting close to her when she first laid eyes on her. It was undeniable that a blood bond could never be severed. She had actually already found her daughter a while back. Just recently, Madame Yu had gone to the Nangong family in order to capture that person and force him to spill everything he knew. Following that, she dispatched someone to leave the Shang domain to check on the credibility and had discovered such a result. She is definitely remarkable. Not only did she save Qing, but she also became the champion of the Pill Assembly and has also contracted with the Pill Assembly's treasure, the Phoenix Furnace. I feel proud that she achieved such accomplishments at her tender age. Xiao Tianyu smiled. Don't you see whose daughter that is? The daughter of Yue and I will definitely be outstanding. But since you said all that, my thoughts of seeing our daughter has intensified, so, my wife, we should quickly get rid of those spies so that we can bring our daughter back. If they didn't get rid of those spies, then he would never feel comfortable bringing his precious daughter back home. That's right. Hubby, Xiao Min went to the outside world. Could she be spoiling our Xiao family's reputation? Madame Yu knitted her brows slightly, displeasure expressed in her eyes. It's due to that girl that the people within Shang domain thinks our young mistress of the Xiao family is arrogant and despotic. She is just from a branch family. How can she be the young mistress of the Xiao family? She depends on her grandfather, who is an elder in the clan, and acts undisciplined and out of control. Previously, she wanted to recognize us as her step-parents. Such a delusion comes from having the hope of increasing her status from a member of the branch family to one of the main branch. After we rejected her, she actually went to tell her grandfather to release word that I had adopted her as my daughter. I was so enraged that I wanted to slap her. Madame Yu expressed displeasure. Anyone that met with this kind of matter wouldn't feel good. If you want to slap her, then do it. Why do you hesitate? Xiao Tianyu looked gently at Madame Yu. Don't forget. You're Madame Yu, the most noble woman in the Shang domain. You don't need to consider so much and you don't have to act on behalf of my face. That old man and his granddaughter are indeed too unbridled. If you don't show them your status as Madame Yu and punish them well, then they will continue to not place you in their eyes. Madame Yu chuckled as she glared at him in rebuke and said, You don't need to tell me that. I will definitely not endure anything more for the Xiao family. Otherwise, some people wouldn't place any importance on me. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 146, The People from the Xiao Family of the Shang Domain Part 2. Chapter 146, The People from the Xiao Family of the Shang Domain Part 2. Xiao Tianyu smiled before sighing. Our daughter is currently in the outside world. I hope that before she reunites with us, she won't meet with Xiao Min, that arrogant and despotic girl. That girl really looks down on everyone so much that even I can't stand her. But if she really meets up with our daughter and bullies her, then I will definitely not let off that duo of a grandfather and granddaughter." A trace of killing intent flashed past Xiao Tianyu's eyes as he smiled coldly. "Xiao Min, I hope that you don't make any more mistakes this time. Otherwise, even if your grandfather is an elder of the family, he wouldn't be able to harbor you. Son. Mu Er, I've heard that people from the Xiao family are coming here. Currently, in the Mu residence." After Ru Yue left her state of cultivation, a special, charming voice that could only come from that man entered her ear. A light, masculine sense softly tickled her nose, causing Ru Yue's body to stiffen. "Wu Chen, did you just say someone from the Xiao family is coming?" Ru Yue came back to her sense and frowned asked that. "Your husband had heard about that Xiao family from the Shang domain. The Xiao family initially wasn't the most powerful power. They became so powerful now due to the sacred spirit spring in the Shang domain. Apparently, the sacred spirit spring is the symbol of the Shang domain. The person that gains the approval of the sacred spirit spring can send a few people annually into the sacred spirit spring to train within for a month. Moreover, the powers of those that enter the sacred spirit spring would drastically increase." Ru Yue raised her brows and asked, "Could the one that possesses the sacred spirit spring be the Xiao family?" "That's right." Yi Wu Chen chuckled slightly. "It is said to be the Xiao family, but the genuine holder would be the young wife of the Xiao family, Madame Shangyu. It is due to her that the previously intermediate Xiao family power became the main powerhouse of the Shang domain." Suddenly, an elegant and exceptional face appeared in Ru Yue's mind. Her heart slightly warmed. "Who is it that is coming this time? I've heard that it is the daughter of Madame Shangyu of the Xiao family." "Daughter? Could it be Chung Chung?" Ru Yue's eyes lit up slightly. After leaving the pill assembly, she didn't get the chance to meet up with Qing and didn't know how that little girl had been faring lately. "Wu Chen, where are the people from the Xiao family at now?" "The palace." Yi Wu Chen looked at Ru Yue and asked, "You want to see the people from the Xiao family?" "Aha," Ru Yue nodded. "It can be counted as though I know Madame Shangyu. I also get along with her daughter, Xiao Chengcheng. I don't know whether if it is Qing that came this time." Yi Wu Chen charmingly smiled. "From what I know, the person that came this time isn't Xiao Qing, but a girl known as Xiao Min." "Xiao Min?" Ru Yue frowned. After remaining silent for a while, she continued, "No matter what, I want to meet up with the Xiao family. Madame Shangyu can be counted as my foster mother after all. When I left before, I didn't get the chance to bid farewell with her, so I don't know if she is here this time." Reminiscing about that warm gaze from that beautiful woman, Ru Yue's heart turned sunny. She didn't know why, but whenever she saw that mother and daughter of the Xiao family, she couldn't resist the feeling of wanting to get closer to them, as though that was how it should be. Yi Wu Chen frowned. A trace of a sinister ray of light flashed past his handsome face. He had heard from an intelligence gatherer in the palace that Xiao Min was an arrogant and despotic girl. That kind of girl wasn't worthy of meeting with Mu Er. "Mu Er, since you agreed to marry me, how about we settle our wedding matter first? As for that woman from the Xiao family, you can meet her in the future." Ru Yue looked curiously at Yi Wu Chen. How could she not guess that Yi Wu Chen didn't want her to meet that person? But no matter what Yi Wu Chen wanted to do, he definitely had a reason for it, so she chose to trust him. "Alright then, I won't go. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 147, Adoring the Ghost King's Woman Part 1. Chapter 147, Adoring the Ghost King's Woman Part 1. "Elder Yu, you came?" When an elder of the Pill Pavilion saw Ru Yue's appearance, his eyes instantly brightened as he hastily stood up. The president had previously passed down an order: whenever they saw this young girl, they had to treat her with the highest etiquette. Gather all of the medicinal ingredients from this paper for me, then send them to either Ghost King Manor or the Mu residence. Remember, it is the Mu residence and not Mu Manor. Ru Yue passed a slip of paper to him. Lastly, just call me Lady Mu. Understood, Lady Mu. When the elder took a look at the ingredient list, a trace of astonishment flashed past his eyes. If he didn't guess wrongly, the pill grade manufactured from these ingredients would be above the Earth stage mid-rank. According to the president, this young girl's ability was at the Earth stage mid-rank. Could it be that she was now going to attempt to manufacture an even higher grade pill? Ru Yue didn't say anything further. She just turned and left after tossing out those orders. Sun. Morning sunlight shone down from the sky and onto a young girl's body. Just as Ru Yue raised her head, she saw a handsomely dressed man in embroidered clothes walking toward her. The man's appearance was like jade, cultured and refined. He was extraordinarily handsome and also possessed peach blossom eyes that frequently released electric sparks. The foldable fan held in his hand was gently waved. Perhaps it was due to him being unable to imagine Ru Yue appearing here that he was stunned for a moment. Lady Mu, it has been a long while since we met. The man curled his lips slightly upward. His peach blossom eyes landed on the young girl. It really had been a long time since they'd seen each other. This young girl's appearance had become increasingly outstanding. My apologies, but it won't do us any good to meet each other. Ru Yue gazed coldly at the man with the jade-like appearance. Her voice was ice-cold, lacking any trace of warmth. Yi Hua's peach blossom eyes contracted slightly before he smiled. He walked gradually to her side before halting his steps. If I knew you were to trash, then I would have previously beseeched my royal father to pass down a decree in the throne room to marry you. Ru Yue sneered, her expression containing traces of a chilling air. I still hold to my previous statement. I don't have any interest in stud horses like yourself. Yi Hua wasn't enraged by her but instead expressed a faintly smiling intent with his peach blossom eyes. Previously, the Ghost King was a fool and had such a terrible reputation that no one was willing to marry him. Currently, his facade of a fool has fallen. Do you think you can still be as peaceful and serene as before? Even though he didn't have any woman in the past, it doesn't mean he won't have any in the future. Ru Yue's gaze became increasingly ice-cold. With a terrifying gaze, she looked at this jade-like appearance man and replied, I trust him. How much trust was contained in that statement? She acknowledged that toward that man, she was willing to entrust all of her trust to him. Yi Hua narrowed his peach blossom gaze slightly as he smiled, saying, Ru Yue, why didn't Ben Wang not notice your excellence before? Otherwise, no matter what, I wouldn't have pushed you toward the Ghost King. It seems that in this place, the Ghost King wasn't the only one hiding the deepest. You, Ru Yue, also were. The previous you had been rumored as a trash. Who knew that you would possess such strength now? Not only do you have peerless innate talent, you were also able to enter the eyes of Grandmaster Wu Yu of the Qingyun sect. Furthermore, how many more secrets do you possess? The girl was like a puzzle that made people want to uncontrollably solve it. Yet, no matter how much one tried, it would only become deeper to the point where one would be entrapped in it. No matter how many secrets I possess, it has nothing to do with you. Her voice was cold and unfeeling, causing Yi Hua's smile to slightly retract. Do you really hate Ben Wang to such an extent? He remembered seeing the smile she displayed when she looked at Yi Wu Chun. It was extraordinary with its unprecedented beauty. But when she was before him, her gaze was always so cold. She was also extremely stingy in not giving him a single smile. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 148, Adoring the Ghost King's Woman Part 2. Chapter 148, Adoring the Ghost King's Woman Part 2. Ru Yue smiled, but that smile didn't contain a shred of warmth. It was just cold to the point where it would give people the chills. Since you know I dislike you, then stop coming by to harass me. You're incomparable to Yi Wu Chen and can't be matched to a single hair of his." At that moment, Yi Yihua became silent. No one knew what he was thinking. Ru Yue didn't want to continue interacting with the man before her, so she turned to leave. Just as she wanted to walk away, the man's pleasant voice was heard from behind her. "Ru Yue, you should know that the Shao family has come to our kingdom of Ziyu as a guest. Since they are a guest from the Shao family, they will need the highest status noble of the kingdom of Ziyu to entertain them. In the kingdom of Ziyu, excluding the Ghost King and you, the highest status noble would be Yi Tianfeng, a disciple to Grandmaster Tian Yuan. Since His Majesty knows that the two of you don't like to be disturbed, he let Yi Tianfeng entertain those guests from the Shao family." Ru Yue stopped her steps, but didn't turn her body or head around to face Yi Yihua. She just wanted to listen to what Yi Yihua had to say. When the Shao family member went to Jing King Manor, they met Mu Ting Er. Yi Yihua paused for a moment before continuing. Mu Ting Er talked a lot of good things about the Ghost King toward the young mistress of the Shao family. In addition to the rumors circulating the world, it made the young mistress of the Shao family interested in the Ghost King. "What I wanted to tell you is that the Shao family is extremely strong. If the young mistress of the Shao family were to fancy Yi Wu Chen, do you think you two can still be together, alone?" Ru Yue chuckled, resolution displayed on her exquisite face. "No matter who it is, I still believe in Wu Chen. I believe that in this life, he won't let me down. I will always believe in his oath." Seeing the retreating figure of the young girl, Yi Yihua nearly went nuts. How could she still say such collected words after hearing about the Shao family? That Shao family young mistress was arrogant and despotic. She wouldn't let anyone snatch away something she fancied. Why could she still say she trusted him? Suddenly, Yi Yihua was a little jealous of Yi Wu Chen. He was jealous of his sight that could discover such a beautiful pearl. If I didn't go to brothels and didn't take in concubines, would I have had a chance in getting her? He, however, knew that he definitely couldn't stick to having only a single girl in his life, so the Ghost King would always have this advantage over him. Thus, it was destined that he wouldn't be able to be with her. Inside Jing King Manor, Mu Ting Er sat in a pavilion. She was lost in thought as she propped her cheek up with her hands, a faint smile on her face. Her body was obviously very feeble and her face had already shrunk to the size of a palm. It was obvious that her days in Jing Manor weren't ideal. Yet, in comparison to her physical torture, what had made her heart break was Yi Tianfeng's coldness. Even to this moment, she still couldn't believe that Yi Tianfeng, who had previously promised to love her for her entire life, would treat her in such a manner. What had she done wrong that he treated her in such a way? When she saw him loving another person every day and heard the torturous sounds they made, only the heavens would know how agonizing it was for her. How could anyone not be heartbroken when their beloved did bad matters with others? Currently, she just needed to close her eyes and such scenes would appear in her mind. Mu Ting Er laughed. She revealed an extremely resentful smile. As she laughed, tears fell. "Ru Yue, it's all your fault that I had such an outcome." She would never be able to forget what Yi Tianfeng told her that day. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 149, Adoring the Ghost King's Woman Part 3. Chapter 149, Adoring the Ghost King's Woman Part 3. Mu Ting Er, if it wasn't for you, how could I have given Ru Yue up? Even if I took your first time, it was due to you seducing me. If it weren't for you, then I would have already wed Ru Yue. She would then be my crown prince's main wife. His words on that day still felt like thorns piercing her heart up to today. Why? Why does Ru Yue have such a good life when I'm suffering so much? The Ghost King was actually pretending to be a fool and instead possessed great strength. Moreover, when father wanted to send Shui Er to be a concubine of the Ghost King actually said he wouldn't want anybody but that slut Ru Yue. Mu Ting Er clenched her fist tightly, her complexion pale. Having only each other in their life? How can Ru Yue achieve such a wondrous matter when I can't? You want to enjoy the Ghost King's love by yourself? Mu Ting Er, won't let that happen. I will make it so that it will be impossible for you to become the main wife of the Ghost King. Ha ha ha. Mu Ting Er laughed madly. Her hair lay unkempt on her shoulders, and with her small, pale face, she looked like a lunatic from afar. She had done her best to boast of how outstanding and perfect the Ghost King was when before the young mistress of the Shao family yesterday. Not only did he have a divine appearance, but he also held peerless strength. He had pretended to be a fool to gather powers in the dark to avenge his parents, but had revealed his identity for a girl. The main thing was that the man was clean. He didn't have any relationship with girls. Once a girl became his wife, he would treat that soul wife well. How could any girl not be moved by such a man? Even though she hadn't heard about the Shao family of Sheng Domain, as a woman, who wouldn't desire a partner that was outstanding and perfect and only loved her and wouldn't be involved with any other girl? She didn't believe that the young mistress wouldn't be interested in him. Mu Ting Er. Suddenly, a cold voice was heard behind her. Her body trembled slightly as she turned around to look at the man coming toward her. With a slight purse of her lips, she asked, "Your Highness, why have you come?" Yi Tianfeng rushed to stand before her and viciously swung his hand at Mu Ting Er. With a crisp sound, Mu Ting Er fell to the ground from that slap, a trail of blood flowing out from the corner of her mouth as she looked up with disbelief at the cold man before her. Mu Ting Er, did you vilify Ru Yue before the young mistress of the Shao family? Mu Ting Er bit her lips, but didn't say anything. A trace of anger seeped into her eyes. The Crown Prince had actually slapped her for that girl. Mu Ting Er, don't think that people don't know what you have done. You're too gutsy. Not only did you tempt the young mistress of the Shao family to find the Ghost King, you also vilified Ru Yue. You're so malicious. Jealousy has become your personality? Do you not care about anything other than getting what you want? Aren't you talking only for yourself? Moreover, you told the young mistress of the Shao family that Ru Yue's feelings toward the Ghost King wasn't genuine and that she just wanted to use him. Don't you know you will bring a lot of calamity onto my Jing manor? Yi Tianfeng's face turned ashen as he viciously kicked Mu Ting Er, shouting at her with a malevolent appearance. Why? Mu Ting Er shouted brazenly. Your Highness, what have I done wrong for you to treat me in such a manner? Don't you like Ru Yue and hate the Ghost King? Why, when I am helping you, are you treating me like this? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 150, Adoring the Ghost King's Woman Part 4. Chapter 150, Adoring the Ghost King's Woman Part 4. Yi Tianfeng clenched his fist tightly. Pang! Mu Ting Er crashed against a stone chair from a kick. Instantly, a trail of blood trickled from the back of her head. She was in so much pain that her face was almost twisted. Yet, the pain in her heart was greater than the pain from her wound. Do you really not know, or are you feigning? I had indeed previously wanted to get Ru Yue and wished for the death of the Ghost King. But currently, Ru Yue is the disciple of Grandmaster Wu Yu. Don't you know the status of Grandmaster Wu Yu in the Qingyan sect? His status is so high that even my master can't go against his order. Moreover, the Ghost King is the master of the Ghost Manor. The mysterious Ghost Manor had always kept a low profile. Everyone knows the strength of Ghost Manor as he can directly kill a false Xian Tian. How can my Jing King Manor afford to go against such people? Mu Ting Er clenched her fist tightly. She wasn't satisfied and wasn't able to accept it. The most outstanding man in the past had turned out to be such a useless guy that he didn't even dare to kill the man he hated. Moreover, she had initially mocked Ru Yue in going to marry a fool and even said that a trash and a fool were a perfect match. Who knew that the fool was pretending and was extremely powerful? Or that the trash was so outstanding with her peerless talent? How could she stand it? Somebody, drag Mu Ting Er away from me. Yi Tianfeng shook his sleeve. He turned around and said, scrap her cultivation and toss her to a brute as a companion. Mu Ting Er's body shook as she looked with disbelief at Yi Tianfeng. Suddenly, she laughed crazily. Yi Tianfeng, you will suffer from retribution. You abandoned my heart and will definitely receive karma. No. No. Go away. Don't touch me. Your Highness, I'm wrong. Ting Er really knows that she is wrong. Please forgive me. No. Yi Tianfeng slowly closed his eyes. In comparison to his own life, others obviously wouldn't come close to it. Sun. Young mistress, I have already investigated that the Ghost King has been staying here these past few days. Outside the Mu residence, a green-clothed maid turned to look at the red-clothed young girl as she spoke respectfully. That young girl had an exceptional appearance, with a spot of cinnabar red between her eyebrows. Her face was well developed. When her slightly red lips curled up into a smile, it could charm a person's soul. The young girl wore red clothes, but didn't look inelegant in them and even looked outstanding. Yet, the arrogance in her eyes sold her out. Yin Huan, let's head in. The red-clothed girl raised her brow as she arrogantly lifted her snow-white jaw. As they say, a type of owner would have the same type of dog. The maid similarly had an arrogant face as she glanced at the sparse Mu residence, her graceful brow frowning in dissatisfaction. Young mistress, the people in the outside world are so arrogant. They know that young mistress has come, but don't send anyone out to greet us. They really think greatly about themselves. I must say that if a noble being like young mistress came, they should sweep the ground and welcome you. Yet, there isn't anyone coming out. My young mistress, why do we have to come to live with such people? In comparison to the Shang domain, the energy here is too low. It isn't suitable for our kind of people to live here. The red-clothed young girl glared at the green-clothed maid, but didn't say anything. There was definitely a purpose for her coming here. Not long ago, her grandfather told her that Madame Shangyu stopped being as carefree as before. With Madame Shangyu's noble status, if she were to supervise the Shao family, their good days would reach their end, so her grandfather wanted to make use of her marriage. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 151, Adoring the Ghost King's Woman Part 5. Chapter 151, Adoring the Ghost King's Woman Part 5. The Shao family was the top family in the Shang domain. Runner-up to them would be the Lan family, who disliked keeping a high profile. There was only a young master in the Lan family that was at the suitable age for marriage with Xiaomin. Even though that young master didn't have a main wife, he already had many concubines. How could Xiaomin be willing to share her husband with others? Her husband must only have her, so she thought of testing her luck in the outside world. Who knew that once she left Shang domain, she would hear about such a perfect man? Even though that man already had a fiancé, Xiaomin was confident in her own beauty and talent. She was also from the Shao family and didn't believe that she'd lose to an ordinary girl, a girl without a strong background. Any man with good sight wouldn't give up a woman like her and instead choose a girl that was so ordinary. Moreover, Xiaomin held the greatest confidence in herself. Let's head in. Xiaomin looked at her maid, Yin Huan, before hastily walking up to the Mu residence. Once she stepped into the Mu residence, a couple of people leaped down from the wall, surrounding the two trespassers between them. Scram! The person that spoke was a middle-aged man with an intense look. He stared coldly at the exceptionally good-looking beauties before lowering his voice intentionally to speak. Mistress and the Ghost King had passed down an order to inhibit anyone from disturbing them today. You have much nerve. Yin Huan's delicate face changed as she said angrily, "Do you know who we are? We are from the Xiao family of Shang domain. Who gave you permission to talk to us in such a manner? The middle-aged man glanced at them, but his aura didn't diminish. I don't care who you are. The mistress and His Highness gave instructions that they won't see anybody. You're to immediately leave this place. Yin Huan's delicate face turned completely red. She bit her lip before saying fiercely, my young mistress fancied the Ghost King and came specifically to meet him. You block us from entering? Which prince wouldn't come to greet us? It must be that the girl sees the Ghost King, preventing him from coming out. In Yin Huan's point of view, not only was her young mistress pretty, her status and position was much greater than that girl's. If the Ghost King were to meet the young mistress, he would definitely fall for her. Thus, that girl must have known about their coming by some means and didn't allow the Ghost King to come to meet with the young mistress. Fancying the Ghost King? A voice was heard behind them at this instant. I wonder who is fancying my fiancée. At this moment, the crowd parted. Xiao Min and Yin Huan raised their head to look at the two incoming people, their appearances exceptional. One was a white-clothed young girl with a faint smile on her exquisite face. Her eyes, however, were abnormally ice-cold. In addition to her hair that fluttered in the wind, she looked devastatingly beautiful, a peerless appearance. The other was a divinely handsome man who stood at her side. He had a gentle appearance but also the masculinity that a man should possess. The elegant curve of his lips curled up into a charming smile. His purple clothing intensified the charming appearance. Moreover, when he looked at the young girl beside him, the warmth in his eyes gradually deepened. That gentleness seemed able to captivate people, making it impossible for anyone to turn their sight away from him. No matter what, the two looked like a perfect couple just from their highly compatible appearance. Xiao Min tightly clenched her fist in jealousy, so much so that her nails pierced into her flesh. She took in a deep breath as she glared fixedly at Ru Yue. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 152, Arrogant and Despotic Xiao Min Part 1. Chapter 152, Arrogant and Despotic Xiao Min Part 1. Xiao Min had always thought she had the most outstanding appearance. There were only a handful of people in the Shang domain that had looks better than hers. Yet today, when she saw Ru Yue, she realized how ignorant she'd been. In comparison to her appearance, this young girl had an out-of-the-world quality to her. It was precisely this quality that made Xiao Min's heart fill with jealousy. You're Ru Yue? Xiao Min raised her jaw as she looked arrogantly at the white-clothed young girl. You should know my identity. I'm from the Xiao family of Shang domain. She indeed had the right to be arrogant as the young mistress of the Xiao family. When Ru Yue saw this highly arrogant girl, she finally understood why Wu Chen didn't want her to meet her. She really didn't need to see such an arrogant and despotic girl. With a slight raise of her brow, Ru Yue looked coldly at Xiao Min. You are the daughter of Madame Shangyu? Of course. It was impossible for Xiao Min to reply without feeling sheepish. She was just from the branch family of the Xiao family. She couldn't be compared to the genuine young mistress, Xiao Chengqing. When she'd previously tried to become the genuine young mistress by asking the head and young wife of the main family to adopt her as their daughter, she was mercilessly rejected. How could she stand that? Hence, she self-proclaimed that she was the daughter of Madame Shangyu. Moreover, with Madame Shangyu's good nature, she didn't bother to clarify it, thus giving her the chance. Ru Yue glanced at Xiao Min. It was as though she discovered something as she slightly smirked. Really? Xiao Min became sheepish. She definitely knew it wasn't the truth. Xiao Min had failed to enter the eyes of Madame Shangyu, who didn't have the slightest intention to adopt her as her daughter. So what if the young mistress isn't the biological daughter of Madame Shangyu? Madame Shangyu has already adopted her, so she is equivalent to her daughter. When Yin Huan saw her young mistress being bullied, she couldn't help but stand up for her and glare sinisterly at Ru Yue, obvious disdain in her eyes. Ru Yue sneered. When has the sight of Madame Shang Yu dulled so drastically to adopt a cat and dog as her daughter? You? What do you mean? Xiao Min's expression turned ashen. With eyes that sprayed out flames, she looked at Ru Yue and said, "You dare to say that I am a cat and dog? It is Madame Shang Yu who has the sight and adopted me as her daughter. I am Xiao Min, the young mistress of the Xiao family. Even the Qingyun sect wouldn't be able to protect you for being impolite towards me." Ru Yue coldly smiled and shook her head. She had originally thought that the young mistress of the Xiao family would be as bubbly and adorable as Qingcheng. She didn't expect her to be such an arrogant and despotic girl. "Mu Er, don't continue talking to such a girl." Yi Wuchen embraced Ru Yue before looking sinisterly at Xiao Min. With a casual wave of his hand, the wind was thrown. Pang! The mistress and servant were sent flying out of the residence. Xiao Min landed on her back. She didn't notice her sorry state at all as she gazed love-struck at Yi Wuchen. Pang! The front door of the Mu residence slammed shut, blocking Xiao Min's sight. "I-oh!" Yin Huan called out in pain. When she climbed up from the ground, she frowned and said in dissatisfaction, "Young mistress, these people have overdone it. We must head back and report this to the elder so that he can teach them a lesson." Xiao Min didn't say anything and just stared at the tightly shut door. "Yin Huan, I've fallen for that man. I want to marry him." "No, I must marry him. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 153, Arrogant and Despotic Xiao Min Part 2. Chapter 153, Arrogant and Despotic Xiao Min Part 2. Young mistress? Yin Huan looked astonished at Xiao Min. "Young mistress, weren't you only curious about him? Why do you want to marry him now?" Xiao Min's gaze was still dazed. It was as though she hadn't sobered from the previous matter. "Yin Huan, don't you think that motion he made when he tossed us out looked so manly? Moreover, that man was really handsome. I've seen many people in Shang domain, but none of them looked as great as him. More importantly, did you see his eyes when he looked at that bitch? It was so gentle, as though water might flow. I believe that I will definitely be blissful if I were to marry such a guy. But, young mistress." Yin Huan's following words were cut off by Xiao Min's voice. "Yin Huan, I know what you are trying to say. It will be hard for him to move his feelings, judging from the gaze he had towards that bitch. However, have you forgotten what that bitch's elder sister, Mu Ting Er, told me yesterday? That bitch has a sinister heart and will do anything to reach her goals. She also doesn't truly love the Ghost King. Even her elder sister couldn't stand her actions. I also heard that her brother-in-law, Crown Prince Jing, had previously loved her elder sister. It was due to this girl's intrusion in words, however, that made the Crown Prince abandon his oath to pass the main wife position to Mu Ting Er. It resulted in Mu Ting Er becoming only a concubine." Saying that, Xiao Min expressed disdain. Mu Ting Er had always treated her so well, but she in return treated her that way. She even stole her elder sister's lover. Following that, she coincidentally found out about the Ghost King's secret. She then stuck herself to that tall pillar while he pretended to be a fool, dumping Crown Prince Jing in the process. What is so good about a fickle-minded girl that goes around attracting guys to herself? She can't be comparable to me. I won't be like her and fall for one after another after all. Suddenly, when she thought about that man's charming appearance, her eyes gained a trace of a love-struck appearance. Only she could be compatible with such a guy. She would be satisfied if she could receive his gentleness. What the young mistress said is right. Yin Huan nodded her head as she continued with disdain. Once the Ghost King knows her true face, he will definitely feel she is a sinister girl and that the young mistress is the most outstanding. That girl only has a good appearance. There's nothing else about her that can be compared to young mistress. Young mistress, what shall we do now? Glimmers danced in Xiao Min's eyes. Yin Huan, you are to make a trip back to Shang Domain. What? Yin Huan was stunned for a moment as she looked at Xiao Min, lost. Silly. I, of course, want you to head back to tell grandfather that I have fallen in love with a man. Tell him that I want him to help me propose this marriage. I will stay here for the time being. I don't believe that, after interacting with me, that man won't fall for me. Xiao Min pursed her lips, her face displaying her confidence. She had sufficient confidence that this man would fall into her hands. Yin Huan nodded as though she understood. Young mistress, your servant will head back to Shang Domain first then. Go back, hide from the young head of the Xiao family and Madame Shangyu. Secondly, don't tell anyone my current location. The head and young madam dislike me. If they find out that I am doing things with the Xiao family's name again, they will most likely dispatch people to bring me back. She clearly knew that Madame Shangyu disliked her, especially when she self-proclaimed herself to be Madame Shangyu's adopted daughter. Yet, Xiao Min overestimated herself. If Xiao Tianyu and Madame Shangyu knew what she was doing, they wouldn't settle for something as easy as bringing her back. They would most likely dismiss her grandfather and chop her into countless little pieces. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 154, Earth Stage High Rank Pill Part 1. Chapter 154, Earth Stage High Rank Pill Part 1. Inside the pill refining room. A young girl raised her palm slightly. A thread of flame appeared from her palm and landed beside a red-hot pill furnace. Hon! An intense fire lit up after she tossed that flame into the phoenix furnace by her side. After preparing these past few days, I should be able to attempt to manufacture an Earth Stage High Rank pill. Ru Yue sighed as she took out some ingredients. What she was manufacturing this time was an Earth Stage High Rank pill, origin increasing pill. It enables the user with a cultivation below the false Xiantian realm and above the Hotian 6th stage to break through a stage. Swish! 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 The light from the fire made the young girl's face look completely red. Her gaze slowly focused. When she flipped her hand, the flame in her palm moved with her motion. A drop of sweat gradually appeared on Ru Yue's forehead. Right after its appearance, a handkerchief appeared from her side, gently wiping the sweat off Ru Yue's forehead. Yi Wuchen looked tenderly at his beloved girl, his lips curled up slightly. If I can always do this for her, it will be great. Stinky brat, where are you going again? Currently, at the kingdom's protector general's manor, the general caught his son sneaking out of the house. He glared at him, his gaze furious. Are you going to the Mu residence again? He. Li Lu withdrew his step as he chuckled drily. Father, I was the one that lost to her. You taught me to always keep to my word, so I'm not doing anything wrong, but... The general was enraged to the point that his entire body seemed about to combust into flames of fury. He just couldn't help wanting to smack this stinky brat flying at this instant. Who called you to make such a bet? You even lost. You're a useless scoundrel as my son, unable to defeat a girl. Li Lu pouted as he muttered, it's alright to be a useless scoundrel, better than being a coward. What did you say? The general glared at him as he asked furiously. Nothing. Father, I've got something to do. I will leave first. When Li Lu saw that the odds were against him, he ran hastily away without glancing back, leaving behind the general that was still trembling with anger. He would be a fool if he didn't run now. Any later and he wouldn't be able to run off. When Li Lu went to look at the back courtyard of the Mu residence for Ru Yue, he heard that she was currently in the pill refining room. He could only wait quietly outside the pill refining room. When sun's fall covered the sky, the tightly shut pill refining room gradually opened. Li Lu, it's perfect that you're here. Go and gather everyone from the Massacre the Heavens sect. When Mu Yue stepped out of the room and saw Li Lu, she ordered him about with a slight raise of her brow. He. Mistress, are you giving out pills again? Li Lu scratched his head as he chuckled twice while nearing Mu Yue. He, however, was sent flying by a kick before he could get near Mu Yue. Yu Wuchen dusted his purple robe before turning around to embrace Mu Yue. A charming smile was displayed on his divinely handsome face, a gentle gaze landing on the young girl. Li Lu rubbed his hurting butt as he stood up with an aggrieved expression on his face. He was only curious as to what pill his mistress had manufactured. Did the Ghost King have to guard against him to such an extent? Thinking about all of this, he felt so wronged. Li Lu, why are you still standing foolishly there? Mu Yue shifted her gaze to Li Lu, who was still looking wronged. Quickly go and summon all of the people from the Massacre the Heavens sect so that I can test out my newly manufactured pill. Testing pills? Li Lu blinked his eyes. Mistress wanted them to come here to test her pill. If Li Lu had known the effect of that pill, he would have definitely fought to test the pill for her. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 155, Earth Stage High Rank Pill Part 2. Chapter 155, Earth Stage High Rank Pill Part 2. Every member of the Massacre the Heavens sect stood before Mu Yue at the back courtyard of Mu residence. Their burning gazes were focused on her. When Li Lu went to summon them, he'd also explained to them that her call for them was in order for them to test out her pill. They, however, didn't know what pill it would be. Has everyone assembled? Mu Yue surveyed the area once. If everyone is here, then we should start. I must make everyone take an oath before I hand out these pills. You are to be loyal toward me from now on. If anyone breaks this oath, their soul will be obliterated and will never be able to reincarnate. Everyone looked at one another. People on this continent believed in the power of an oath, so once they swore one, only the rare few would break it. There was once a strong expert in the distant past that swore he would never abandon his wife. He, however, found a new lover and abandoned his waste of a wife. The ending of that expert was extremely miserable, as it was the same outcome he'd sworn if he broke the oath. Thus, from then on, nobody dared to go against their oath. Of course, if you're unwilling, it's fine. But please leave my Mu residence this instance. The young girl's voice was ice cold, void of feeling, yet it made everyone look at each other, smiling bitterly. Did they have a choice? Although their mistress allowed them to leave, they understood that they'd been under her great care already, so they wouldn't easily decide to leave this place. Mistress, we are willing to be loyal toward you for all eternity. We will never betray or acknowledge another master. If we are to break this oath, we are willing to have our souls obliterated, never to reincarnate. Everyone had thought for a while, but still established that heavy oath in the end. All right. Mu Yue slightly nodded. A trace of a faint smile appeared on her exceptional cold face. Li Lu, hand these pills out. The pills I am giving to you now is the Earth Stage High Rank Increase Origin Pill. It is usable for all below the Xiantian realm and allows one to break through a stage. If the user were to be a 9th stage martial practitioner, they can use this pill to successfully break through to the Xiantian realm. The young girl's words made everyone's heart tighten. Li Lu's eyes brightened and he nearly drooled. He swallowed his saliva back as he directed a look of flattery toward Mu Yue. He. Mistress, so you called us here to try out this kind of pill. Why didn't you say so sooner? No matter how much there is, I am willing to test it. Mu Yue swept him a gaze. Quickly hand out the pills. Understood, mistress. After hearing that this increase origin pill could increase their power, everyone glared fixedly at the bottle in Li Lu's hand. They couldn't help but want to snatch it from him. Increase origin pill. How could such a thing not move people after knowing that it was a pill that could enable a 9th martial practitioner to break through to the Xiantian realm? Everyone became extremely nervous once they held the pill. They hastily consumed it. Momentarily, countless light from breakthroughs could be seen above the Mu residence. Ha ha ha. I've broken through. I finally did. A hearty laugh was heard from the residence. This tall, sturdy man laughed till he teared up as he reminisced about the time before he entered Mu residence. He'd been only a 6th stage martial practitioner, without any hope of making any more breakthroughs. His turning point was that essence purification pill. It was due to desiring that essence purification pill that he entered Mu residence. After he consumed the purification essence pill, his previously lost innate power returned to his body. After cultivating for a month, he broke through to the 7th stage, which he originally thought would be his limit. Who knew that he could now break through to the 8th stage in an instant? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 156, Earth Stage High Rank Pill Part 3. Chapter 156, Earth Stage High Rank Pill Part 3. The man was so excited that he cried, but nobody mocked him as everyone else was as excited as he was. It was common knowledge that alchemists were extremely precious to the world. They previously weren't able to consume even the most ordinary of pills, not to mention this increase origin pill, an Earth Stage High Rank pill. Even Yi Tianfeng's master, Grandmaster Tian Yuan, was only an Earth Stage mid-rank alchemist. Mistress, you are like my parent. If it wasn't for you, I doubt I would have any chance in making any breakthroughs. My life will be yours from now on. That's right. Mistress, if it wasn't for you, we definitely wouldn't have the chance to even touch something like an increase origin pill, but... Everyone became excited as they looked at Ru Yue with burning gazes. Ru Yue wanted this kind of effect. Her cold gaze swept past the crowd. I have a method to stimulate the dormant innate power inside your body, but this method will be extremely harsh. You may experience pain that you have never experienced before, but I will also be training alongside with you. It all comes down to whether you have the determination to become stronger. Following that, you should pursue the peak of the world with me. Pursue the peak of the world? Everyone's blood started to boil. How tempting was it to reach the summit of the world? How could they not be moved when they thought they could reach the peak of the world with her? But, Mistress, we are willing, no matter how bitter the future path will be. This was how the continent functioned. If one didn't put in the effort and hard work, then one would only end up as the bullied. No matter how strong you were, there will always be someone stronger than you are. If one doesn't want to be bullied, then one must head to the highest position of the world. You would not be oppressed if you were in that position. Alright, I will give you half a month's time to prepare yourselves. After that, you are to undergo my hell training. I hope that after half a month, your powers will make further improvements. Of course, I will prepare enough medicinal plants beforehand. Ru Yue's gaze swept past the excited faces of the crowd. With a slight curl of her lip, she continued, Now, I will need you to appoint a leader and an assistant leader. If I am not around in the future, you are still to continue following my training regime. You must persevere to gain an imaginable outcome. Once she said that, Ru Yue shifted her gaze to Li Lu. You have the best understandings of these people. You are to appoint the leader and assistant leader. You are to also report the members' cultivations to me. Since there were too many people that made a breakthrough now, Ru Yue wasn't able to remember all of their cultivations. Li Lu blinked before shifting his gaze toward the members of the Massacre the Heavens sect. There is one 9th stage expert, 10 8th stage experts, 37th stage, and 56th stage and below practitioners in our group. The leader will be Zhao Lin, the 9th stage practitioner. Not only is he powerful, he is authoritative and charismatic. The assistant leader will be one of the 8th stage experts, Ru Yue. Ru Yue nodded slightly. Zhao Lin and Ru Yue step out. Upon her order, the 2 appointed people stepped forth. Zhao Lin was handsome and valiant. He seemed to be 26 and could be counted as a talent. Zhao Lin was an associate of Li Lu. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to reach his current cultivation if Li Lu didn't invite him. In comparison, Ru Yue was an elegant-looking girl. Her age was similar to Zhao Lin. She was rescued by Li Lu when she got hurt during a dire situation. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 157, Earth Stage High Rank Pill Part 4. Chapter 157, Earth Stage High Rank Pill Part 4. These 2 could be considered outstanding talents of the Kingdom of Ziyu. The age of the members of the Massacre the Heavens sect wasn't high. Although there were a few that came for the Essence Purification Pill, several others had rather tough histories. They coincidentally met with Li Lu and joined the Massacre the Heavens sect with his persuasion. More importantly, Li Lu promised them that even though Ru Yue wasn't strong now, she had an outstanding talent and would definitely be able to reach the peak of the world someday, bringing this battle squad toward glory. Although some were initially unsatisfied, after being baptized by Yan Jin, everyone became obedient. How could this young girl be ordinary when she was able to gain the protection of such a tyrannical small beast? Mistress, Li Lu scratched the back of his head. He chuckled before continuing, "Can I ask you for a favor?" Ru Yue lifted her brow before shifting her gaze to Li Lu. "What's the matter, Mistress, you should know that my father is still angered about me using myself for the bet and losing, so can I ask for another increase origin pill? It will cause my father to be unable to scold me further." Li Lu was a little embarrassed after saying this. Was he being too greedy? Mistress had already given him an increase origin pill after all. It should be difficult for Mistress to hand out all those precious pills. Yet, what made Li Lu surprised was that Ru Yue nodded and agreed. "All right. Mistress? You agreed?" Li Lu was stunned for a moment before excitement rose from within his heart. He instantly wanted to pounce toward Ru Yue. "Mistress, you really treat me too well." He was, however, kicked away before he could get near Ru Yue. Li Lu looked at the man that was embracing the young girl and blinked his eyes. How could he forget about the Ghost King's presence? If it were any other person who did such an action, then it wouldn't be as simple as just a kick. But Li Lu didn't have the time to look at the darkened Yi Wu Chen's face. After he took the pill from Ru Yue, he dashed out. His speed looked as though he was rushing to be reincarnated. Son. Within the Kingdom Protector's general's manor. When the general saw his son running toward him as though he was rushing to be reincarnated, he grabbed at his son's collar. "Stinky brat, I'll see how you escape now." He. Li Lu chuckled drily. He scratched the back of his head. "Father, I don't plan on running away from you. I have brought you something good this time." The general glared at him. "What thing?" "Actually, it is nothing special. My mistress gave us all a pill and I got an extra one for father." "That's right, the effect of this pill is that it can make every martial practitioner below the Xiantian realm break through a stage. Father, since you are currently an 8th stage martial practitioner, you will be able to become a 9th stage martial practitioner after consuming the pill." "What did you say?" The general was stunned. He couldn't help but loosen his grip on Li Lu's collar as he stared dazedly at his son. Li Lu straightened his collar before looking at the general, aggrieved. "This is the pill." Li Lu tossed the pill to the general before directly exiting the area. The general hadn't yet sobered as he watched the departing figure of his son. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 158, Challenge Part 1. Chapter 158, Challenge Part 1. An Earth Stage High Rank Pill. Was he dreaming? He wasn't able to sober up until after a long period of time. In a small courtyard littered with red maple leaves, a young girl sat on a stool before a maple tree. Her hands propped up her cheek as she zoned out while looking at the sky. Her eyes weren't as cold as usual, but clear and clean instead. She didn't seem to notice as the maple leaves landed on her shoulders and head as she continued to gaze up at the sky. With her hair and clothes fluttering in the wind, her beauty became extremely hair-raising. Simply sitting there silently, she gave off the allure of an eye-catching beauty. When Yu Chen saw such a sight, his heart momentarily skipped a beat. In comparison to the usual stronger, this young girl before him made people unable to bear to disturb her. "Mu Er, what are you thinking about?" A pair of arms embraced her waist, forcing the young girl to wake from her thoughts. She shuddered and lowered her gaze, her long and dense eyelashes quivering slightly. "Wu Chen, do you remember that albino man?" It was the man that suddenly appeared and spoke those illogical words. "I don't know why, but I feel that I should know that man. I feel uneasy for some reason. Perhaps something will happen in the near future." The advice that man had given still rang in her ears. Hadn't that man told her to be careful? But who was he? Yu Chen embraced the young girl before him tightly. With a charming smile on his divinely handsome face, he replied, "Mu Er, no matter what happens in the future, we will face it together. However, aren't you afraid that your hubby will be jealous about you thinking about other men while we're together?" He extended his hand to grasp the young girl's shoulder before forcefully turning her body towards him, making her look at him. The distance between them was so close that they could feel each other's breath. This was another moment where Ru Yue was in close proximity of Yu Chen and she sized him up. It was undeniable that this man was exceptionally handsome. He was so charming and attractive, like a blossoming red spider lily at the shore. Even if one knew they would be endangered after getting close to it, it was still difficult to resist that force of attraction. His appearance was exceptionally gentle, but not to the point where his masculinity was covered up. Those attractive lips curved upward slightly into a perfect arch. His eyes were sinister and cold, carrying with it a domineering and strict noble aura. Yet, when he gazed at this young girl before him, a trace of gentleness would appear within them. The proverb said that a girl's beauty will result in downfall. In my opinion, however, I think it is this male beauty that will lead to downfall instead. This man was just too handsome. Previously, it was due to him pretending to be a fool that no one was willing to enter Ghost King Manor. Currently, however, he gave her a lot of trouble. "If being your hubby will lead to downfall, then I am only willing to affect you, my wife." Yu Chen smirked as he pulled the young girl back into his embrace. His happiness was distinctly displayed on his lips. It was sufficient enough for him to have only her in this life. Night. The night sky was lit up by the stars. When Yu Chen stepped out of the Mu residence, a figure secretly stalked him. With a knit of his brows, a trace of iciness flashed past his sinister and cold eyes. "Who's there? Get the hell out here for Ben Wang." Once he said that, a red-clothed Xiao Min appeared in front of him. Xiao Min had purposely dressed up for today. She looked increasingly charming, appearing just like a fresh red rose. The spot of cinnabar red between her eyebrows served to enhance her beauty. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 159, Challenge Part 2. Chapter 159, Challenge Part 2. Xiaomin pursed her lips slightly as she lifted her head to gaze at the divinely handsome man before her. In this instant, her heart skipped a beat. It was unknown to Xiaomin as to why this man's figure kept playing in her mind these past few days. perhaps it was just curiosity she felt at the start towards this man. But, after interacting with him, she understood just how outstanding he really was. If she could get him as her other half, then she would be satisfied with her life. Mr. Wu Chen, I have come to find you for some matter this time. Xiao Min looked shyly at the man before her. I just can't bear for Mr. Wu Chen to be fooled by that sinister girl. I've come to let you know everything. That girl doesn't truly love you. She'd previously snatched her own elder sister's man. But now, since she wants to be with Mr. Wu Chen, she dumped that man. Such a girl like herself isn't worthy of Mr. Wu Chen's gentleness. Who knows if she will cheat on Mr. Wu Chen one day? Yi Wu Chen slightly narrowed his eyes. At that moment, Xiaomin felt as though the air around her was slowly disappearing as she looked in astonishment at the man before her. She could be counted as a talent in Shang domain. How could this man possibly make her feel oppressed when he didn't even do anything? How much power did he possess to make such a move? Perhaps, she really had found an outstanding man this time. Shang domain? Xiao family? Yi Wu Chen chuckled lowly. His charming smile was cold as he continued, Mu Er isn't compatible with me, but you are instead? The man's smile was exceptionally beautiful, causing Xiao Min's heartbeat to quicken. She bit her lip. Mr. Wu Chen, you should know my identity. I am a person of the Xiao family in Shang domain. Moreover, Madame Shang Yu is my foster mother. If you marry me, there will definitely be many benefits. There won't be a second offer if you miss this chance. This identity was Xiao Min's pride. She'd frequently done things in the Xiao family's name. How many people could there be that didn't want to curry favor from her once they heard the name of Shang domain Xiao family? This man should be the same. The daughter of Madame Shang Yu? Yi Wu Chen slightly curled his lips. A trace of coldness touched the smile on his exquisite face as he continued, from what I know, there is a person in the Xiao family's branch family that is so delusional in becoming a part of the main family that she requested Madame Shang Yu to adopt her. In the end, she was rejected by Madame Shang Yu. However, she personally spread around the news that Madame Shang Yu truly did adopt her and thus she reaches her current status. Xiao Min's face paled as she stared in shock at Yi Wu Chen. Why did this man know about this in so much detail? Even if that's the case, I am still from the Xiao family. Mr. Wu Chen is an intelligent person. You should know that girl is only an ordinary person. How can she be comparable with the Shang domain Xiao family? With how outstanding you are, Mr. Wu Chen, if you were to marry into the Xiao family, you will definitely reap much profit. Moreover, that girl is so fickle-minded. Xiao Min bit her red lip, looking as though she were a dead piggy that wasn't afraid of being boiled. In an instant, the light in Yi Wu Chen's eyes slowly darkened. Just as she wanted to say something further, she felt a hand mercilessly squeezing her throat. Boundless fear seeped slowly into her heart, causing her body to shudder. She currently felt as though her life wasn't in her control. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 160, Challenge Part 3. Chapter 160, Challenge Part 3. Devil. This man was a devil. Xiao Min finally knew fear, but she still wasn't satisfied. How could she, a bona fide young mistress of the Xiao family, not be comparable to an ordinary girl? What part of her was lacking, excluding her looks? No matter if it were her identity, status, or even talent, she was definitely much better than that girl. As the young mistress of the Xiao family, she had been undergoing training since her childhood. Scram! The lips of the man parted slightly, and the word scram made Xiao Min's body shudder more vigorously. She looked with disbelief at the man that didn't know how to care for a lady. Was his gentleness only reserved for that woman? She couldn't stand it. She really couldn't. Xiao Min clenched her small fist tightly. Her pale lips quivered. When had she failed to get what she wanted since young? It would definitely be the same this time. This man's appearance and talent were outstanding, so she definitely had to marry him. Yu Wuchen coldly looked at Xiao Min's pale face. There wasn't a sliver of pity in him. He continued with gloomy indifference, Ben Wang will spare your life this time, for the name of the Xiao family. However, if there is a second time, then even if you are from the Xiao family, Ben Wang will make you disappear to get rid of future problems. Even though he said it was due to the name of the Xiao family, it was actually for Ru Yue. Ru Yue had a great relationship with Madame Shang Yu. Even though Madame Shang Yu didn't acknowledge Xiao Min, this girl was still a part of the Xiao family. Otherwise, Yu Wuchen definitely wouldn't have let her off with what she'd said tonight. Seeing the departing purple clothes, Xiao Min laughed madly. Ru Yue, you are just an ordinary person. What right do you have for him to treat you like this? I won't let you off. Xiao Min gritted her teeth in anger as she said that word by word. A light suddenly flashed past her eyes, as though she'd thought of an idea. Son. Ru Yue, get the hell out. A lovable voice soared through the heavens at the Mu residence the next morning, instantly attracting many people's attention. Following that, Ru Yue, dressed plainly, stepped out of the door under the gaze of the crowd. When Xiao Min saw that remarkable appearance, she secretly gritted her teeth, nearly resulting in her teeth breaking. She clenched her small fist tightly before sneering at her love rival's face and challenged, Ru Yue, I want to duel you. Do you have the guts to accept it? Ru Yue lifted her brows and looked at Xiao Min calmly. You want to duel me? That's right. Xiao Min lifted her snow-white jaw as she continued arrogantly. If I win, you must give the Ghost King to me. If I win? Ha ha. That's impossible. Xiao Min chuckled as her beautiful eyes locked on Ru Yue. You definitely can't beat me. Xiao Min was counted as a talent within the Xiao family, so she was confident that she would be victorious against this girl. This girl was just an ordinary girl without any family's backing and nurturing. How could she defeat her? If she herself couldn't defeat such an ordinary girl, then how could she have the face to continue living in Shang domain? You sure? Ru Yue's brows raised as she asked with a smile that was like a smile yet not a smile. Xiao Min snorted. Ru Yue, if you have any guts, then accept my challenge. Since I believe you know you will lose against me and, as such, won't accept this duel, then this missy won't force you. You're such a coward. However, you must leave the Ghost King from now on. He isn't someone you are worthy of. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 161, Challenge Part 4. Chapter 161 Challenge Part 4. Xiao Min had always been arrogant and despotic within Shang domain. How could she place importance on an ordinary girl when she dared to act as she'd always done in Shang domain? In the beginning, she was curious about the Ghost King due to Mu Ting Er. Following that, it was his exquisite appearance, but that also didn't amount to everything. As a girl of the Xiao family, she understood clearly what she needed. She wanted a person that would treat her wholeheartedly. Not only must he have outstanding looks, but he must also possess great power. It was obvious that the Ghost King met her ideals. At the start, she'd left Shang domain to escape her grandfather's arrangements. Who knew she would meet her ideal partner here? She really didn't know how such an outstanding man existed in this world. She must obtain him, even if it were by shady means. Mickey, I thought it was usually done by guys? MXD, just kidding, tongue sticking out. This challenge is just a little childish to me, especially since it's to snatch a man. Ru Yue didn't speak for a moment before she swept an icy gaze toward Xiao Min's arrogant and complacent face. But since you are so interested, it will be bad if I don't accept it. Xiao Min coldly smiled. Since this woman had the guts to accept the challenge, she would definitely teach her a lesson. Everyone present, listen. Xiao Min turned her head to look at the crowd. With a sneer on her face, she continued, I am from the Xiao family of Sheng domain. I will be going to duel with this girl, no matter if it is death or life after the battle, but... The crowd discussed among themselves once they heard that it was a match that might lead to the death of one of them. Xiao family of Sheng domain? Where was that place? They hadn't heard about it before. However, there were some that did know a few rumors about the Xiao family of Sheng domain and, thus, they told the others what kind of place it was. Everyone took in a cold breath after hearing how formidable the Xiao family was. Since the Xiao family was so strong, this girl should be powerful. Would the future Ghost King's wife be a match for her? Wouldn't it be seeking death if she were to duel with her? No matter what the others thought, Ru Yue had already accepted this duel. Xiao Min started her moves without any warning. A long whip appeared in her hand. When she swung it, it instantly surged forth like a dragon toward Ru Yue and curled around her wrist. Ru Yue slightly knitted her brows, but she still stayed expressionless. There was a faint cold ray of light in her eyes as her body burst forth with a powerful aura. Bitch! Xiao Min bit her lips tightly as she swung the whip toward Ru Yue's body. Ru Yue moved to the side, avoiding Xiao Min's next attack. When Xiao Min saw she could dodge her attack, her expression darkened and became more aggressive with her following strikes. No matter what, Xiao Min was nurtured by the Xiao family. Since Ru Yue had transmigrated for only a year, the disparity in strength was great. However, that distance could be complemented by pills. Pill after pill entered her mouth, turning into strength as they slowly passed through her entire body. When the crowd saw her popped pills into her mouth like candy, they were so jealous that their eyes almost reddened. More importantly, the pill worked the instant she consumed it, becoming a part of her strength. Wasn't this effect a little too perverted? Pills were precious items in the world, so who would be willing to eat them like candy as she did? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 162, Challenge Part 5. Chapter 162, Challenge Part 5. Xiao Min's expression changed slightly. She herself was unable to eat pills like candy, even with her power within the Xiao family. Yet, this girl was actually eating pills like candy before her. How could this not be a blow to the prideful and arrogant Xiao Min? Bitch! Xiao Min gritted her teeth tightly. Her whip was instantly covered in a layer of flame. Hon! The whip swung towards Ru Yue. Countless flames danced all over the weapon as it mercilessly lashed out at the girl who made her grit her teeth in jealousy and hatred. Once she died, all of the pills in her ring would belong to her. Currently, Xiao Min had a muddled mind due to her anger, so she didn't even consider how Ru Yue was able to possess so many pills. Ru Yue raised her sword to block Xiao Min's whip, but the instant Xiao Min's weapon collided with her sword, it abruptly burst forth with a strong explosive force that struck directly against her chest. Her face paled instantly and she coughed out a mouthful of blood. It seems that the young mistress of the Xiao family is a little stronger. She is from Sheng domain after all. Her martial skills will be top-rate. The wife of the Ghost King still isn't able to cover up this disparity in strength, even with the assistance of pills. Everyone was currently discussing the fight, so they didn't pay the slightest notice to the changes happening to Ru Yue. At this moment, the spirit dormant inside the Alchemy Book roused itself. It was this Alchemy Book that Ru Yue used to increase her alchemy skills, and it now gave out a faint light. Following that, the flames that had been emitted by Xiao Min were absorbed into her body. If it hadn't been for that, Ru Yue wouldn't have gotten hurt and wouldn't have spat out blood. The abnormality of the Alchemy Book made Ru Yue slightly flabbergasted. She completely didn't understand what just happened. Xiao Min's attack quickly appeared before her again. Ru Yue didn't make any movement this time as she wanted to understand what the Alchemy Book wanted to do. She freely allowed Xiao Min's flaming whip to strike her body. A streak of blood appeared on her shoulder, but when the flame neared her body, it was absorbed by the Alchemy Book. After that, the flame transformed into energy within her dantian. Could it be that since she was a flame attribute martial artist, she could absorb fire elements for her own usage via the Alchemy Book? If this was the case, didn't she now have a great cheating device? Yet, Mu Ru understood that it wasn't omnipotent. If the enemy was too strong, then she would have died under her opponent's blow before the Alchemy Book could react. However, she didn't expect the Alchemy Book to have such a use. All along, she just treated the Alchemy Book as just a book to increase the rate that her alchemy grew. When Xiaomin saw that Mu Ru didn't dodge nor hide from her blow, she sneered in contempt. Could it be that she was seeking her death? If she died, that would be for the best. Thinking about that, Xiaomin's attack became even more violent. Each move desired Mu Ru's life, but the person under attack didn't react at all. It was as though she didn't feel any pain. When everyone saw this, they were somewhat disturbed. Xiaomin's attacks were too venomous. It was obvious that she wanted to torture the girl before her to death. At that instant, Mu Ru's body emitted an aura. She had unexpectedly broke through under the crowd's gaze. Hotian 7th Stage. What did a 16-year-old Hotian 7th Stage practitioner imply? Even Yi Tianfeng hadn't been able to break through to the Hotian 7th Stage when he was 16. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 163, Shameless Old Man Part 1. Chapter 163, Shameless Old Man Part 1. Is that all you've got? A cold voice slowly escaped from the young girl's lips. Mu Ru lifted her gaze and shot an icy glare towards the flabbergasted Xiaomin. She then immediately took out a pill and consumed it. The wounds on her body rapidly started to recover. If it wasn't for her torn clothes, nobody would have believed she'd undergone torturous whippings. Or should I thank you for giving me the chance to break through? The young girl's lips curled up, but there was only coldness in her eyes. Xiaomin shuddered violently as she stared in disbelief at Mu Ru. This girl had used her attacks to make a breakthrough? It was certain that if she hadn't had Xiaomin's help, Mu Ru wouldn't have been able to make a breakthrough within 2 months' time, so she really needed to thank Xiaomin for this. You're not human. Xiaomin retreated 2 steps back in fear. Her lips quivered slightly as she quickly swung her whip at Mu Ru, a trace of viciousness in her eyes. This girl should just die. However, before her whip could reach Mu Ru's sword turned ablaze with flame. Hon! The whip in Xiaomin's hand was set on fire. Xiaomin was indeed a talent to reach such a cultivation level at her tender age. But Mu Ru could feel that her cultivation had been solely dependent upon pills. Her body's foundation wasn't so stable, and she didn't have sufficient battle experience. It wasn't difficult to become a talent with the constant usage of pills and gentle nurturing from a young age. Pills could be consumed, but they shouldn't be overused. Otherwise, it would result in such an outcome. Everyone was stunned as they didn't expect the sudden reversal. Mu Ru, who they'd belittled, was now overwhelming the young mistress of the Xiao family, Xiaomin. Bitch, go and die. Xiaomin's eyes reddened as flames of anger burned in her eyes. She didn't care about anything else at this moment. She muttered indistinctly and the power within her body drastically increased. Her unkempt hair flew in the wind as Xiaomin laughed. So what if you broke through? You still won't be my match. This time, Xiaomin really gave it her all. It wouldn't be easy to break apart the Xiao family's forbidden technique. The price that she would pay was her soul undergoing torture of immeasurable pain for an entire month for forcefully increasing her power. The current Xiaomin now possessed tyrannical power from using the forbidden technique. Even though she could only make a single attack after using this forbidden technique, this was already sufficient. She would definitely kill her in one move. Die. A tyrannical power stirred as countless flames gathered towards her body, oppressing Ru Yue. Everyone was shocked at this moment. This was the power the young mistress of the Shao family possessed. She was too powerful. Hon! That tyrannical flame struck mercilessly at Ru Yue's chest, who was instantly slammed back. Her entire body smashed into the ground and she spat out another mouthful of blood. Ha ha! Bitch, you won't have a good outcome for fighting me. Xiaomin laughed madly, but after witnessing the next moment, her laughter abruptly stopped. She widened her beautiful eyes in astonishment. The young girl stood up from the ground, a trail of blood flowing out from her mouth. Her feet staggered a couple of times, but she was still able to stand. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 164, Shameless Old Man Part 2. Chapter 164, Shameless Old Man Part 2. Ru Yue lifted her head to look at the astonished Xiaomin. With a slight smirk, she spoke coldly, void of any feeling, "Is that the extent of your power?" Xiaomin's eyes slowly widened. When she saw the smirk on her opponent's face, she became a little dazed. How could this happen? Those words appeared in her mind the moment she collapsed. Why was that girl still able to live after receiving an attack she cast with all her strength after using the forbidden technique? Why had she even done that just now? Wouldn't her soul now have to undergo torture for an entire month's time? She slowly lost consciousness. No matter how remorseful she was, everyone on the street looked at Ru Yue. If Xiaomin had shown herself to be very powerful, then Ru Yue, who had been able to withstand that tyrannical attack and remain alive, was simply abnormal. They had always thought that the final victor would end up as Xiaomin. Who knew that this would be the outcome? Mu Er! An anxious call was suddenly heard. Following that, a purple figure soared through the air to land before Ru Yue. The man had an exceptional appearance and a strong aura that could be seen from his charming eyes. However, at that moment, those sinisterly cold eyes were only filled with anxiousness. Mu Er, why did you accept the Shao family's challenge? Ru Yue glared at him. Aren't you the cause for this? Yi Wuchen's eyes dulled. His strong hands held her shoulders as he said with unprecedented seriousness, Mu Er, you are not allowed to do such dangerous acts in the future. Perhaps she wasn't your match, but these big powers may have some life-protecting methods. If someone bullies you, then just leave it to your husband. No matter if they are flies harassing you or girls delusional enough to want to break our bond, your husband will deal with all of them. As he said that, guilt and self-blame filled his heart. Perhaps he really shouldn't have let this woman off yesterday. The man raised his hand to dust his purple clothes before turning his gaze toward the girl lying on the floor. His eyes instantly hardened, became cold and sinister. Traces of a tyrannical aura filled his surrounding. Hong. Yi Wuchen's power struck at the girl lying on the floor. You actually touched a strand of her hair. Ben Wang will make you regret that for your entire life. Death? That would be too easy for a girl like her. He wanted her to live a life worse than death. Even more than killing her, such a prideful girl would suffer more if she were to become trash. Stop! An angry holler rang out. Yi Wuchen, however, didn't halt his actions. Strong energy invaded Xiaomin's body, transforming into a hand that viciously crushed her dantian. Crack! A distinctly crisp sound echoed on this quiet street. Stinky brat, didn't this old man tell you to stop? Since you dared to hurt this old man's granddaughter, this old man will definitely give you a terrible death, but... A gray-robed elder stood in front of Xiaomin as he shouted. The gray-robed elder glared at Wu Chen, his eyes threatening to rip Wu Chen apart. Raging fury burned in his gaze and his boundless killing intent surged forth as he shouted, "Since you dared to hurt my granddaughter, you must pay with your life. Not only you, but your parents, your wife, your offsprings, they will also pay the price." At this moment, a wail could be heard from a side. Elder, the young mistress used the forbidden technique and her dantian seems to have broken. Yin Huan looked at the gray-robed elder as she spoke, sobbing. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 165, Shameless Old Man Part 3. Chapter 165, Shameless Old Man Part 3. What? The gray-robed elder was shocked. His attention instantly shifted away from Yi Wu Chen as he went to check Xiao Min's condition. Once he took a look, his anger reached the next level and his killing intent surged. Stinking brat, you're so vicious to have destroyed my granddaughter's dantian. How did my granddaughter offend you for you to treat such an innocent and weak girl in such a fashion? Yi Wu Kem smiled. A sneer was on his divinely handsome face as he said, she hurt my wife. Don't you think that is an offense? It must be your wife that provoked my granddaughter first. The gray-robed elder's anger reached 10 meters. If this man before him hadn't seemed so formidable, he would have already charged forth to cut him down. Elder. Yin Huan wiped her tears before lifting her head to look toward Yi Wu Chen. This man is the one young mistress fancies. He kicked the young mistress out of the door for that woman and humiliated the young mistress. The young mistress bore the humiliation, but they still wouldn't let the young mistress go. Ru Yue saw the true face these people clearly. No matter what words that were uttered from their mouths, they would still say that something black was white. Furthermore, the arrogant Xiao Min that had come knocking on the door herself had somehow become an innocent and weak girl. It was no wonder Xiao Min had such a personality. The gray-robed elder sized Yi Wu Chen up. It was undeniable that his granddaughter had a good eye. There wasn't any man as handsome as this guy. More importantly, his strength was truly strong. Otherwise, he himself wouldn't be standing on his toes to deal with him. If he'd married his granddaughter earlier on, then perhaps he could have escaped this ordeal. It was such a pity. I can't deny that you indeed have the capital to attract girls toward you, but my granddaughter is from the Xiao family. Why didn't you just agree to marry her when she said she fancied you? It would have been fine if you had rejected her, but you also had to hurt her to such an extent. It can't be that you want to oppose my entire Xiao family, right? The gray-robed elder's face darkened, the fury in his heart nearly setting him on fire. This was the first time in so many years that someone didn't place importance on his Xiao family. Yi Wu Chen had never seen such a shameless old man. He felt it was a little funny that there were really such people that thought so highly about themselves when they actually amounted to nothing. Firstly, are you sure you can represent the Xiao family? The man's lips curled up slightly. His handsome face was even more charming with that smile, yet, there was an icy coldness in his eyes that made people apprehensive. It was certain that his smile didn't reach his eyes. Secondly, Ben Wang won't allow her to stand there unscathed, even if it means opposing the entire Shang domain. Her man's words were so domineering and brazen, but a trace of warmth wrapped around Ru Yue's heart. So what if he were to oppose the entire Shang domain? He definitely wouldn't give her another chance. If she becomes a trash, then she would be vulnerable to beatings and may even be killed. Now she would never be able to make even the slightest commotion from now on. This would be much more torturous than to just kill her. She was currently lying there, unconscious. She most likely wouldn't feel any pain if he were to kill her with his blade. Since that was the case, how could he simply let her die so easily? Why? Why don't you mind opposing the entire Shang domain? The gray-robed elder's entire body shuddered. He couldn't believe that this man didn't fear their Shang domain in the slightest. The strength of Shang domain was unfathomable. The only power that was comparable to Shang domain was the Pill Assembly. Moreover, the Xiao family was the sole controller of Shang domain. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., Please let us know report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 166, The Sect Leader of the Saintess Sect Part 1. Chapter 166, The Sect Leader of the Saintess Sect Part 1. Yi Wuchen didn't say anything as he just turned his head to look at the girl behind him. This man that previously had a domineering aura suddenly became filled with gentleness, his eyes holding boundless tenderness. He didn't need to say anything to express his feeling. The gray-robed elder suddenly realized that this man really didn't mind opposing the entire Shang domain for a woman. Was there really such a devoted man in this world? Perhaps this man wouldn't even frown if he were to conquer the world for her. The gray-robed elder's expression darkened. How could his granddaughter stand it if the man she loved scraped her cultivation for another girl? How much pain would she suffer when she regained consciousness? Yet, the old man knew that this young man possessed tyrannical strength. If he were to fight against him, it would only result in them being seriously wounded. He wouldn't be able to avenge her. Stinking brat, I'll temporarily let you go today, but I definitely won't spare your life the next time we meet. The killing intent from the gray-robed elder didn't decrease in the slightest, but his grandeur was still much lower than Yi Wuchen's. When did Ben Wang allow you to leave this place? Yi Wuchen's divine face darkened when he saw the gray-robed elder carry Xiaomin along with him as he left. Wuchen lifted his hand slightly and a bolt of black flames surged toward the gray-robed elder. There was a sinister and cold aura emitting from the dark flames that made the surrounding audience feel a chill. The gray-robed elder hastily moved away in a flash as he didn't want to fight Yi Wuchen. He quickened his steps to leave. Yi Wuchen initially wanted to pursue and kill that old man, but at this moment there was a powerful aura gradually heading toward them, the distance close. It made him halt his steps, an unprecedented seriousness displayed on his face. Wuchen, what's wrong? Mu Yue felt something was wrong with Yi Wuchen. Her long, shapely brows knitted slightly with indistinct worry in her eyes. Yi Wuchen turned around as he walked toward Mu Yue. With a charming smile, he lifted his hand to caress the young girl's face. There was a trace of reluctance on his divine expression. Mu Er, it seems that I will have to leave in a moment. Wuchen. Mu Yue's heart tightened as she gripped Yi Wuchen's hand tightly, a trace of unease within her. It seemed as though Yi Wuchen was to face some danger. Mu Er, you agreed to marry me a few days ago. I had been preparing ever since to give you a grand wedding ceremony. I am nearly done with it already, but I need to leave for a period of time. We will arrange the wedding ceremony properly once I'm done with that, alright? Mu Yue raised her head to focus on his handsome face. She gradually nodded. Alright, I will wait for you here. I just want you to return safely, no matter what happens. She didn't question him in the end. Since she chose to marry him, she would trust him with all her heart. Yi Wuchen lowered his head slightly to place a fleeting kiss at the corner of her lips. He didn't mind in the slightest that they were in public. He released Mu Yue and looked gently toward her, reluctance in his posture. Mu Er, you must wait for my return. Once I've settled the matters at hand, I will return to your side. He would definitely return safely, no matter what happens. Yi Wuchen turned around and, after giving one last look toward Mu Yue, disappeared from the street. Soon, he reappeared near a mountain forest. At the same time, in the open sky, a man was standing in midair before him. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 167, Sect Leader of the Saintess Sect Part 2. Chapter 167, Sect Leader of the Saintess Sect Part 2. The man looked around 20 years old. His appearance was sword-like and he had honey-colored skin that radiated light from the sun. He was well-built, the slightly closed black robe exposing well-defined muscle. Nobody would have been able to imagine that this 20-year-old man was actually the sect leader of the sinister Saintess sect. The Saintess sect had been established for at least 20 years after all. Even if he'd started it in his youth, he should at least be a 40 to 50-year-old middle-aged man. After all, shouldn't it be impossible for him to have established the powerful Saintist sect when he was born? Yet, just from that man's appearance, he indeed looked to be 20 years old. The only flaw in his appearance was a horizontal scar across the left side of his face. It mercilessly destroyed his beauty. If not for that, this man would have been exceptionally handsome. I didn't think that I had left behind a bad seedling after so many years. The man lowered his head slightly and, with a ruthless smile, continued, "You also killed 2 of my subordinates. If I had known about this earlier, I would have killed you then to prevent future disasters. It's a pity you didn't." Yi Wuchen's face was unprecedentedly sinister and cold. His entire body gave off a malevolent, hair-raising aura. Following his words, the other man raised his head and laughed. His laughter was dramatic and brazen, and seemed to shake the entire forest. "Brat, your mother had previously betrayed me and now you even killed my subordinates. Do you think I will let you off? I know you wanted to attract my attention towards you to give temporary safety to your fiancé. You and your parents are so devoted to love. It's a pity that I must obtain your fiancé. My power will make a rapid improvement after having a yin-yang exchange with her. However, I will kill you before that so you won't have to suffer from such a sight." The maliciousness in Yi Wuchen's icy expression deepened. "I will have to see if you have that capability. Ben Wang will definitely not let you touch a single hair on her head." "So you went behind her back to meet with me?" The man obviously knew of Yi Wuchen's motives. His lips curled up slightly and he gave a ruthless chuckle. "I will send you to hell soon enough." His greatest entertainment in life was to break up couples. Within the Saintist sect, there were many youthful girls that were abducted by him, stolen away from their fiancés. After he had sexual intercourse with them, however, the majority of them would forget about their past and would wholeheartedly pursue him. Yet, his greatest quirk was not using anything twice. It was the same with women. Yi Wuchen looked coldly at the man before him. His only fear within the Saintist sect was this sect leader of the Saintist sect. "However, you don't have the ability to kill Ben Wan yet. There was someone waiting for him at home, so even though the man he was now blocking was dangerous, he would definitely return to her side." "Mistress." Li Lu looked timidly at Ru Yue, who had a terrible expression. He didn't dare to say what he wanted to say. Ru Yue retracted her thoughts. Her gaze slightly darkened. "Li Lu, assemble all of the members of the Massacre the Heavens sect now. We will commence hell training." "Ah?" Li Lu was stunned. "Isn't there still half a month before that?" "No. We will start now." She had already promised she'd fight alongside him and reach the peak of the world. But right now, he still needed to face many matters on his own. If powerful opponents appeared every time, then she would only be a burden for him. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 168, Mother and Daughter Reunion Part 1. Chapter 168, Mother and Daughter Reunion Part 1. Perhaps it would seem to others that she was a talent by becoming a 16-year-old Hotian 7th stage martial practitioner, but to her this wasn't sufficient. Such cultivation was only capable for fighting against other youths, never with those genuine experts. She needed to become much stronger. Only then would she have the qualifications to fight alongside him. "Wuchen, I don't know what you are settling and I don't know what is happening, but you promised you will surely return." Ru Yue raised her head to look at the clouds far above her. Her unease gradually settled down. Since he had promised, she believed that he would surely return to her. The days of hell training was naturally tough, but she had already experienced it once before. Compared to the other members of the Massacre the Heaven sect, she was able to adapt the quickest. Everyone was covered in injuries every day. In addition, they were adding weights when they ran and were always a little tired. At the same time, everyone could feel that their body's rate of absorbing energy was much quicker. Their power was slowly becoming stronger. Mu Ruyu would always think about Yi Wu Chen when she returned to Mu residence every night. If it wasn't for her current matter, she wouldn't have known that the fool who pretended to an idiot and kept her in the dark had already held an extremely important place in her heart. This man had done too many things for her. However, she didn't have the right to face matters with him due to her insufficient strength. If she were to blindly stay by his side, then she would only become his burden. Moreover, this continent was the same as the cultivation world of Huaxia. The strong were respected while the weak were stepped upon. She wanted to become strong in order to move alongside him. It was due to this thought that Mu Ruyu put in more effort and worked herself harder than she'd ever done in her previous life. How could everyone else fall behind when they saw such a young girl possessed with such determination and perseverance? Everyone gritted their teeth and pushed on. This was the first step in improving their strength, so they definitely wouldn't give up. Mistress! Mistress! I've broken through. I didn't know we could break through with such a training method. The members of the Massacre the Heavens sect had broken through within 2 months. 6th stage martial practitioners broke through to the 7th stage. There were now a total of 37th stage martial practitioners and also 8 people within the 8th stage. Even though the 8th stage and 9th stage members hadn't yet made a breakthrough, all of them felt a great difference from their original selves 2 months ago. No matter if it were their defensive or offensive might, they'd obviously made remarkable improvements in each. Who could have known what they'd experienced this 2 months? It really was hell training. They started by tying metal plates on their bodies as they ran. They increased the number of metal plates from 1 to 50 over the course of 2 months, and they weren't allowed to remove them. Perhaps this couldn't be considered hell training, as what followed was the true nightmare. They needed to fight against a strong magical beast with their bare fists and weren't allowed to use any weapons. Sometimes they had to even fight a horde of magical beasts without weapons. They were also prohibited from using pills and had to just use their raw strength to deal with the horde of magical beasts. How many times had they escaped from the clutches of death these last 2 months? It was great that everyone was able to persist. What she had said at the start of training came true. They would be able to release their potential when they experienced high-risk situations. Their potentials would be stimulated after facing death time after time. Hence, the aura around the members of the Massacre the Heavens sect underwent drastic changes after 2 months. Some of them even gave off a murderous and grim aura. They were now the genuine Massacre the Heavens combat squad. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 169, Mother and Daughter Reunion Part 2. Chapter 169, Mother and Daughter Reunion Part 2. Li Lu didn't participate in the training. The Mu residents needed to be taken care of, so Mu Ruyu had let Li Lu investigate for news about Yi Wu Chen. There hadn't been any news of him for these past 2 months. Just as Mu Ruyu stepped into the Mu residence, Li Lu ran hastily out. Once he looked at Mu Ruyu, he excitedly went forth to greet her. Mistress, you've returned. It's wonderful, since I was just about to look for you. Examining Li Lu's expression, Mu Ruyu's heart shuddered as she anxiously asked, "Is this news about Wu Chen?" Li Lu faced Mu Ruyu and shook his head gently. Mu Ruyu grew melancholic once again. Mistress, there isn't any news about Ghost King, but there is still great news. I have come to let you know that there have been rumors constantly surfacing about how the Saintess sect seemed to have offended an expert. A few of its sect branches were destroyed by that expert. From these rumors, the expert wore a silver mask. Nobody has seen his true appearance. Silver mask? Could it be Wu Chen? Mu Ruyu's heart gradually relaxed. She could wholeheartedly focus on improving her powers if nothing had happened to him. Once she had accomplished that, she would be able to face this ordeal together with him. She didn't want to be his burden. Li Lu obviously didn't notice the change in Ru Yue's expression as he continued, "Mistress, don't you think this is great news? Wasn't the Saintess sect so overpowering before? Now its branch sect has been destroyed by someone." According to the rumors, the sect leader was furious. "I really don't know who is doing this, but it's so satisfying. Ha ha." Even though he hadn't seen the two experts from the Saintess sect, he'd heard that they were very powerful. But so what if it was the Saintess sect? Wasn't it currently being destroyed by someone? As he thought about this, Li Lu had the urge to raise his head and laugh. Sun. A loving couple walked down the street of Phoenix City at this moment. They attracted everyone's attention to them. The madam's appearance was exceptional. Every hand gesture she made was elegant and natural. She wore golden yellow silk clothing that fluttered in the breeze, giving her a noble and beautiful look. The golden yellow color complemented her very well. A green-clothed man was by her side. His appearance was perfected like a sculpture. His gray eyes looked tenderly at the beautiful madam beside him. That gentleness could only have appeared if he loved her to her bones from the bottom of his heart. The two seemed so harmonious that it seemed like nobody would ever be able to break their relationship. "Yue, we will be meeting our daughter soon." Their long-lost daughter that they'd thought of for so many years. "Hubby." Madame Shang Yu held Xiao Tianyu's hand tightly. Her own jade-like hand couldn't help but tremble. She suppressed her nervousness and slowly smiled. "Let's help avenge our daughter before going over to meet her. I've heard that our daughter had been bullied terribly by the Mu family all these years." Madame Shang Yu was filled with anger after listening to the investigations about her daughter's past. Their Xiao family's daughter, the genuine main branch young mistress, had been bullied by a family clan to such an extent that they almost forced her to her death. If it wasn't for their daughter's tenacious life force, she would have perhaps gone to see the king of hell already. The heavens only know how stirred up her heart had been when she read such news. That damnable Mu family had the guts to touch her precious daughter. She would make them regret all they had previously done. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 170, Mother and Daughter Reunion Part 3. Chapter 170, Mother and Daughter Reunion Part 3. Just a puny little Mu family. Xiao Tianyu smiled coldly. With a trace of frost in his gray eyes, he continued, "There is also that so-called Crown Prince Jing that didn't even place importance on my, Xiao Tianyu's daughter. He really thinks highly of himself. More importantly, there is also that girl Mu Ting Er that was always seeking trouble for our daughter. How can I let her go? I already can't wait to announce the news of our daughter in order to make those people repent." When he said that last word, a distinct killing intent surged from his eyes. Madame Shang Yu held Xiao Tianyu's hand inside. "Qing initially wanted to come with us. She kept thinking about her elder sister Ru Yue during this period of time. After knowing that Yue is our biological daughter, she kept wanting us to bring Yue home. But that girl is about to undergo the innate test within the next few days, so it is better for her to prepare well for it." Thinking about how excited that girl had been after discovering Yue was her elder sister by blood, Madame Shang Yu couldn't help but chuckle. Now she had a son and two daughters. She was extremely satisfied with her life already. "Yue, let's go and visit this family where our daughter has lived these past 15 years. I wonder what kind of repayment they will give to our Xiao family." Xiao Tianyu chuckled coldly, his smile chilling. The guards that followed behind them shuddered with fear. They knew that the young head and young madam were extremely enraged this time around. Someone was going to be in trouble. "Son. What did you say?" When Mu Qing heard the report from his subordinate in the main hall of the Mu family, his heart instantly chilled as he hastily stood up. People from Shang Domain are coming here? Can it be due to that matter where that bitch Mu Yue beat the young mistress of the Xiao family? Mu Yue already isn't my Mu family's daughter anymore. Why did they come here to seek repayment then? Mu Qing became apprehensive as he said with a little unease, quickly invite the lord of the Xiao family in. No. I will personally go and greet them. What kind of place was Shang Domain? Mu Qing had heard about it, but didn't personally associate with them. This was because they were a preeminent powerhouse that would never associate with ordinary people. Despite this, it was even the head of the Xiao family coming here at this moment. Thus, Mu Qing didn't dare to slight them. Just as he stood up, however, an elegant voice was heard from outside. It is unnecessary, we have already entered. A couple with a group of guards following behind them entered. These two were experts. They also possessed extraordinary strength. Mu Qing calmed his heart and hastily went forth to greet them. Has the lord and lady come regarding the young mistress of the Xiao family? Madame Shangyu and Xiao Tianyu were stunned. Could it be that he already knew their purpose in coming here? But they hadn't publicized this information and only the two of them knew of it. Furthermore, if Mu Qing knew that Mu Yue was the daughter of the Xiao family, he shouldn't have such an expression. The head of the Mu family knows the purpose of why my husband and I came here? Madame Shangyu had her brows raised as she asked indifferently. Of course I know. Mu Qing tried his best to look as humble as possible as he said respectfully, recently, there was a young mistress of the Xiao family that came to our kingdom of Xiyu. She had said that she was the daughter of Madame Shangyu. Since she fancied Lord Ghost King, she got into a conflict with my unfilial daughter. As a result, she was hurt by my unfilial daughter. Haven't the Lord and Madam come for that? If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 171, Mother and Daughter Reunion Part 4. Chapter 171, Mother and Daughter Reunion Part 4. Mu Qing looked curiously at the couple. Could it be that he had guessed wrongly? They weren't here as a payback for Mu Yue beating up the young mistress of the Xiao family? My daughter? Madame Shangyu lifted her brows. I also don't know what unfilial daughter you are talking about. Mu Qing only knew they were from the Xiao family. After hearing Madame Shangyu's words, he immediately guessed her identity. He couldn't help but be astonished and his eyes widened as he clarified, You are Madame Shangyu from the Xiao family of Shang Domain? Mu Qing still had some understanding of Shang Domain, even though he wasn't from there. This Madame Shangyu undeniably held the most prestigious status in Shang Domain. Her power to rally supporters was simply unparalleled. For the sacred spirit spring, who wouldn't move to obey her orders? You think someone would be daring enough to impersonate me? Madame Shangyu's expression gradually darkened. Immediately clarify what you said earlier. Mu Qing was so scared that he trembled. He didn't dare to lie and told her what had happened on that day. Not long ago, a lady from the Xiao family came to the kingdom of Xiyu, saying that she was your honorable daughter. She came for a scenic tour and for some reasons took a fancy to the ghost king Yi Wuchen of the kingdom of Xiyu. She challenged my unfilial daughter Mu Yue for Yi Wuchen, and became severely wounded by that damnable Mu Yue. Madame Shangyu, Mu Yue is no longer a daughter of my Mu family. You can do whatever you want to her. I won't say a word even if you kill her. However, I hope Madame would be merciful and let my Mu family's innocent people off. They are different from that bitch Mu Yue as they wouldn't do such stupid acts. Madame Shangyu became enraged on hearing Mu Qing calling Mu Yue a bitch and saying she was stupid. But she had gotten the gist of what had happened from Mu Qing's words. It was no wonder why Xiao Min had been carried back with only half her life 2 months ago. Moreover, that old man had dared to lie to her. He had just said that his granddaughter had fancied a man but was hindered by another girl. Not only had she scrapped his granddaughter's cultivation, she had also said she would annihilate the entire Xiao family. Didn't that old man know his own personality? It was obviously Xiao Min's fault for being wounded. Could the forbidden technique of the Xiao family be used so casually? It was already a blessing she was still alive. He wanted the Xiao family to avenge him? He was simply dreaming. Why should she clean up Xiao Min's mess? That arrogant and despotic girl probably wanted to snatch someone else's man and got taught a lesson instead. At that time, she had been unhappy. If it weren't for the fact that she was an elder, she would have already mercilessly taught Xiao Min a lesson in order to let her know the immensity of heaven and earth. Who knew that the man Xiao Min wanted to snatch was her precious daughter's man? If she had known about this, she would have personally dealt with Xiao Min at the Xiao family. When Mu Qing saw that Madame Shan Yu was greatly shocked, he thought Madame Shan Yu was angered due to Mu Ru beating Xiao Min. He inwardly scolded Mu Ru in his heart. That girl only knew how to stir up trouble from morning to night. Madame Shan Yu, don't worry. I will definitely take revenge and wipe out the grudge for your daughter. I will dispatch people to call that bitch Mu Ru here for Madame to punish. If Madame doesn't want to dirty your hands, I can also arrange for someone to settle her on behalf of Madame. This time, I, Mu Qing, will definitely place righteousness before family. Someone. A jade hand viciously slapped his face before he could finish his order. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 172, Mother and Daughter Reunion Part 5. Chapter 172, Mother and Daughter Reunion Part 5. Mu Qing was literally sent flying from that slap. The table was flipped over and after an instant, boiling tea landed on his head, almost scalding a layer of skin. Mu Qing was stunned as he didn't know what he had said wrongly that invoked Madame Shan Yu's rage. Yue, calm down. Don't hurt your body due to anger. Xiao Tian Yu continuously helped Madame Shan Yu to quell her pent-up anger. His eyes frosted over when he looked at Mu Qing. Somebody come. After Madame Shan Yu had gradually calmed down, she glared furiously at Mu Qing. Bind up everyone from the Mu family and also capture the two daughters of Mu Qing, Mu Ting Er and Mu Yue. Oh, that's right, invite Mu Ru over. Just tell her that I, Madame Shan Yu, wish to meet her. Remember to politely invite her over. Nobody is allowed to be rude to her. If not, you can just scram. The former were captured and the latter was invited. The treatment between the two was completely different. Madame Shan Yu originally wanted to meet Mu Ru personally, but who knew that the matter with Xiao Min would arise? It made her so incredibly enraged, so much that she wanted to settle all matters here. Moreover, she also didn't know if Yue was hurt or not. Xiao Min had activated the forbidden spell of the Xiao family, and that attack would have been extremely dangerous. If Yue had been hurt by her, she would definitely chop that damnable Xiao Min into countless pieces. Mu Qing realized that he was really doomed this time. He was completely clueless about what was happening and why. Shouldn't those large powers be more protective of their members? Why was Madame Shan Yu so courteous to Mu Ru after she had injured the young mistress of the Xiao family? What was going on? Furthermore, Yue seemed to be associated with this Madame Shan Yu, judging from her words. Head of the Mu family, I want to ask you something. Madame Shan Yu's eyes narrowed dangerously and she smiled coldly. Did someone pass you a girl 16 years ago? Could you tell me where that girl is now? Mu Qing trembled and looked in astonishment at Madame Shan Yu. His eyes darted around before saying, she is dead. That girl has already died. Ha ha. Madame Shan Yu raised her head and laughed. She no longer kept her elegant posture. Died? Mu Qing, do you know what will happen to you if you lie to me? With just a word from me, you will be consigned to eternal damnation. Really, she is really dead. Cold sweat slowly formed on Mu Qing's forehead. He still wanted to prevaricate as there were only a few people who knew of what had happened that year. Madame Shang Yu coldly chuckled. If she hadn't thoroughly investigated everything to the smallest detail, she may have believed this man. It was a pity for him that she already knew everything. Mu Qing, stop your final struggles. I know that the girl is Ru Yue. It was precisely because she was not your daughter that you mercilessly mistreated her and didn't mind forcing her to her death. No biological father would treat their daughter so ruthlessly. Everything he had done was due to Ru Yue not being his daughter and, more importantly, her inability to cultivate. Hence, Mu Qing had always wished for her death. He had only suppressed the impulse to strangle Ru Yue to death because he didn't want to be the murderer of his daughter. No matter if it is you or Xiaomin, I won't let you off. Madame Shang Yu walked deliberately towards Mu Qing. With an ice-cold smile, she continued, that's right, regarding Mu Yue and Mu Ting Er, Yue has been treated very well by them all these years. How do you think I should repay them? If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 173, Mother and Daughter Reunion Part 6. Chapter 173, Mother and Daughter Reunion Part 6. Mu Qing had seemed to guess what was going on. He looked in disbelief at the beauty whose smile was as cold as ice. He felt as if a blade had been placed against his neck. Fear. Mu Qing felt unprecedented fear at this moment. Father. Daddy.